Welcome to Kansas Public Radio's virtual holiday show, the radio version. I'm Kaye McIntyre, host of KPR Presents and Weekend Edition on Kansas Public Radio. 2020 has been a strange year, and this has been a strange Christmas season. Here at Kansas Public Radio, we wanted to do something special to share the holiday spirit. So we gathered together, separately in our own homes, for KPR's first ever virtual holiday show with Christmas songs and holiday stories featuring your friends at KPR. First up, our program director, Daryl Brogdon, with a Christmas classic from 1897. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. Pour yourself a cup of eggnog, put a log on the fire, and enjoy KPR's holiday show.
Dear Editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Signed, Virginia O'Hanlon, 115 West 95th Street. Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They've been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except what they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children's, are little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant in his intellect, as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole of truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. And you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would the world be if there were no Santa Claus. It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight. The eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus. You might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch in all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor man can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not, but that's no proof that they are not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders there are unseen and unseeable in the world. You may tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes the noise inside, but there is a veil covering the unseen world which not the strongest man, nor even the united strength of all the strongest men that ever lived, could tear apart. Only faith, fancy, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the supernal beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world there is nothing else as real and abiding. No Santa Claus. Thank God he lives, and he lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the heart of childhood.
That's Daryl Brogdon, KPR's program director. You're listening to Kansas Public Radio's virtual holiday show, the radio version, with Christmas songs and holiday stories from your friends at Kansas Public Radio. You can find the video version of today's program on KPR's Facebook page and on our website, kansaspublicradio.org.
I'm Jason Sloat, production manager at Kansas Public Radio, and I've managed to convince my fellow bandmates in Carswell and Hope, Austin Quick on bass and Nick Carswell on piano and vocals, to perform an old Christmas song, a favorite of mine from 1960. It's called Please Come Home for Christmas.
Bells will be ringing, the glad, glad news. Oh, what a Christmas to have the blues. My baby's gone, I have no friends. once again. Choirs will be singing Silent Night, Christmas carols by candlelight. Please come home for Christmas. Please come home for Christmas. If not for Christmas, by New Year's night. Friends and relations send salutations. As sure as the stars shine above. But this is Christmas, Christmas, my dear. The time of year to be with the one you love. So won't you tell me you'll never roam? Christmas and New Year's will find you home. There'll be no more sorrow, no grief, no pain. 'Cause I'll be happy, happy once again. There'll be no more sorrow, no grief, no pain. 'Cause I'll be happy, happy once again.
Hello, folks. This is Jeff Watson, your classical music friend in the afternoon. And I'm coming to you now from my kitchen table, my humble little workstation, the one that's been scratched together, and have been here for the better part of a year now, bringing you classical music in the afternoon. Being here, coming to you like this, everywhere I turn, everywhere I look, it's all a little bit of a reminder of what kind of a year it's been. This one has been hard, there's no doubt about it, and we're not quite through with the year yet, and as Christmas time approaches, maybe this is one year where we're not going to quite be able to gather together quite as we did before. Now, the closer we get to Christmas, the more and more nostalgic I find myself becoming. My happiest memories of Christmas, they're from my childhood, as I'm sure that they must be for a lot of people. I can still remember the excitement of being a kid and decorating the tree and watching presents accumulate more and more underneath it. And I'm the sort of person who could never contain his excitement. I never could wait until Christmas Eve when we would begin unwrapping the presents. I had the habit of sitting under the tree and poking little holes in the wrapping paper of my Christmas presents, trying to suss out what they were. By the time Christmas Eve came around, my presents had so many holes poked in the wrapping paper that they looked sick. We would start unwrapping the Christmas presents on the 24th, Christmas Eve, but we wouldn't finish until the next morning. Christmas Day would come along, and on that morning, that's when you got your big present. That's when you got the thing you really wanted for Christmas. It's when you got your laser tag, your Castle Grayskull, your first Nintendo Entertainment System. And of course, the reason why we had to wait until Christmas morning, you had to give Santa Claus a chance to show up. He had a lot of houses to visit in one night. Ours was just one of them. But the morning would arrive, the present would be there, and the young kid in me who still believed in Christmas magic was sure it was all real. Santa Claus had come in the night and left us something special. After all, the gift tag said the thing was from Santa, and if his handwriting was exactly the same as my father's, well, just an amazing coincidence. I happened to be pondering some of these old fond Christmas memories not too long ago, when my friend and colleague, Kaye McIntyre, came to me and asked if I'd be interested in helping her with her KPR Christmas project by giving a little reading of some Christmas poetry, A Visit from St. Nicholas, by Clement Clarke Moore, the famous Christmas poem that everybody knows, even if you don't exactly know it. Now, I must admit I was a little bit shy at first, but then I thought, maybe we can use a little bit of radio magic to create a little bit of new Christmas magic. Maybe we don't have to be here at this kitchen table, but can imagine ourselves somewhere else. A winter's cabin on a snowy evening, with a brightly lit gorgeous tree and a roaring fire, were huddled together close to hear about the legend of the one who brings us our Christmas cheer. I do hope you enjoy A Visit from St. Nicholas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes did appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment he must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all. As leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry! His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." And there you have it. I do hope you found that enjoyable. Our Christmas magic was sweet and all too brief. We're away from our Christmas cabin now. We're back at my kitchen table, and I worry I've kept you a little long. So I'll say good evening to you. I'm Jeff Watson, and a reminder that if it's Christmas Eve and you wake up to find a large bearded man with red cheeks, a red nose, and other signs of heavy drinking, don't worry. It might just be a visit from St. Nicholas. Merry Christmas from all of us at Kansas Public Radio.
Hi, my name is Bobby Washachek, and I'm the Media Sponsorship and Events Coordinator at Kansas Public Radio. Up next for you, I've got Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. So here's that one for you all today, and thanks again for coming. Thank you so much for joining us. Up next, we've got more great KPR staff members performing, so stay tuned.
Hello, I'm Marcia Higginson. I'm the evening classical host here at Kansas Public Radio. In addition to classical music, I love the classic old stories, and I've got one of them for you tonight. It's O. Henry's Gift of the Magi. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. Pennies saved 1 and 2 at a time. 3 times Della counted it. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and cry. So Della did. After all, life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating. While the mistress of the home is gradually subsiding from sobs to sniffles, let us take a look at the home. A furnished flat at $8 per week. In the vestibule below was a letterbox into which no letter would go, a doorbell that didn't work, and a card bearing the name Mr. James Dillingham Young. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home and reached his flat above, he was called Jim and hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, already introduced to you as Della. Della finished her cry and powdered her cheeks. She stood by the window and looked out dully at a gray cat walking a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jim a present. She had been saving every penny she could for months with this result. Expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They always are. Only $1.87 to buy a present for Jim, her Jim. Many a happy hour she had spent planning for something nice for him, something fine and rare and sterling, something worthy of the honor of being owned by Jim. Suddenly she whirled from the window and stood before the mirror. Her face had lost its color within 20 seconds, but her eyes were shining brilliantly. Suddenly she pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now there were 2 possessions of the James Dillingham Youngs in which they both took a mighty pride. One was Jim's gold watch that had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's hair. Now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, rippling and shining like a cascade of brown waters. It reached below her knees and made itself almost a garment for her. And then she did it up again nervously and quickly. She faltered for a minute and stood still while a tear or two splashed on the worn red carpet. On went her old brown jacket, on went her old brown hat. With a whirl of skirts and with the sparkle still in her eyes, she fluttered out the door and down the stairs to the street. Where she stopped, the sign read, Madame Sofroni, hair goods of all kinds. Della ran up the stairs and collected herself, panting. Will you buy my hair? Asked Della. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off and let's have a sight at the looks of it. Down rippled the brown cascade. $20, said Madame, lifting the mass of hair with a practiced hand. Give it to me quick, said Della. Oh, and the next 2 hours flew by. She was ransacking the stores for Jim's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jim and no one else. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and chaste in design. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew that it must be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and value. The description applied to both. $21 they took from her for it, and she hurried home with the 87 cents. When Della reached home, her excitement gave way a little to prudence and reason. She got out her curling irons and went to work repairing the ravages made by generosity added to love, which is always a tremendous task, dear friends, a mammoth task. Within 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny, close-lying curls that made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. She looked at her reflection in the mirror long, carefully, and critically. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, he'll say I look like a Coney Island chorus girl. But what could I do? What could I do with $1.87? At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made and the frying pan was on the back of the stove, hot and ready to cook the chops. Jim was never late. Della doubled the fob chain in her hand and sat on the corner of the table near the door. Then she heard his step on the stairs, and she turned white for just a moment. She whispered, Please, God, make him think I'm still pretty. The door opened and Jim stepped in and closed it. He looked thin and very serious. His eyes were fixed upon Della, and there was an expression in them that she could not read, and it terrified her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor disapproval, nor any of the sentiments that she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her fixedly, with that peculiar expression on his face. Della wriggled off the table and went to him. "Jim, darling," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again. I just had to do it. My hair grows awfully fast. Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you." "You've cut off your hair?" asked Jim. "Cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well, anyhow? I'm me without my hair, ain't I?" Jim looked about the room curiously. "Your hair is gone?" "You needn't look for it," said Della. "It's sold, I tell you, sold and gone, too. It's Christmas Eve, Jim. Maybe the hairs of my head were numbered," she went on with sudden serious sweetness, "but nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim?" Out of his trance, Jim seemed quickly to wake. He took Della in his arms, drew a package from his overcoat pocket, and threw it upon the table. "Don't make any mistake about me, Dell," he said. "I don't think a haircut could make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going there." Della opened the package, cried with joy, and then her tears came. For there lay the combs, the set of combs, side and back, that Della had worshipped long in a shop window. Beautiful combs, pure tortoise shell with jeweled rims. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had simply craved and yearned over them without the least hope of possession. And now they were hers, but the tresses that should have adorned them were gone. But she hugged them to her chest, and at length she was able to look up with a smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." And then Della leaped up and cried, "Oh!" Jim had not yet seen his beautiful present. She held it out to him eagerly upon her open palm. The dull, precious metal seemed to flash with a reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. "Isn't it a dandy, Jim? I hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch and put his hands under the back of his head and smiled. "Dell," said he, "let's put our Christmas presents away and keep 'em a while. They're too nice to use just at present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. And now, suppose you put the chops on." The Magi, as you know, were wise men, wonderfully wise men, who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones. And here I have lamely related to you the uneventful chronicle of two foolish children in a flat who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But in a last word to the wise of these days, let it be said that of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, such as they are wisest. Everywhere they are wisest. They are the Magi. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Hi, Jason Sloat, still here by the fire. This time I've put down my drumsticks, which is the instrument I normally play, to pick up another instrument that I never take out of the living room. I'm going to play with my wife, Margaret Marco, who's going to play English horn, and our young'un, Catherine's going to join us on keyboards for O Holy Night.
You're listening to KPER's virtual holiday show, the radio version. You can find the video of this event at KPER's Facebook page and on our website, kansaspublicradio.org. We've got more Christmas songs and holiday stories from your friends at Kansas Public Radio coming up right after this.